and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Richey of the MHRT Network. Over here to my right is Alex Gibbons. You can catch his content on Arrowhead Addict. Down directly below, dancing show tunes and shimmy shaking around his chair is Captain Jack. Yeah, that's right. That guy is Captain Jack. You can catch him on YouTube, Captain Jack Rackham. Pretty much all.
Oh, I thought that was new music, man. It was. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was on my YouTube, and I was listening. I thought the Hello Mudda Hello. I thought that was new music. I apologize. It was.
No,
it was
Rogers
going
and
on.
Hammerstein. No, Rogers and Hammerstein is not the MIT Chair Network.
Yeah, our score is being produced by Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's in works.
Yeah,
we are a Webber show.
Yeah. Okay. And then directly diagonally here, I even got the point right, is Coach Defense on the Lockdown Defense podcast. Coach, you can catch Coach's staple show on Tuesdays and his brand new show directly after this podcast at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Coach, the name of that show, please.
That will be the Lightning Fast Fantasy Football Podcast with me and the real Alex Gibbons, giving you news and views of the fantasy football world, getting you closer to that championship brass ring. So check us out at 9:30.
Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the show, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us live. And for those of you who are joining us after the fact, click the like button down below. It helps more and more people find our show and our content and gets more fans of all four of the AFC West teams in here. And for those of you who are joining us, jump around to the various channels and hit the like button for us. We really do appreciate it. It goes a long way. I really can't stress that enough. And for those of you who are not subscribed, there's that really big button below that says subscribe. Just go ahead and click it. It is free, as in costs you nothing, but helps us greatly. Thank you very much. And without further ado, on to the weekend recap. So I, for one, would love to forget week 5. Like completely, like 100%, just forget it happened. However, for those of you who were on the show and joined us last week, you will remember that I effectively called it. In fact, I even called the point spread. If you want to go back and rewind the tape, this guy, and. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Receipts.
I literally have the receipts, like they're on the internet. It just is what it is.
Well, it's got to be true if it's on the internet.
Well, of course, naturally.
Yeah.
But see, not only is it on the internet and on a video recording with my voice, and I will admit that it was actually me on that recording from this show last week, but then the actual game played out pretty much as I thought it would. And, it is what it is. Hey, we got BC in his house.
He's back.
He's back.
Look who's back. Back again. So, anywho, I just wanted to just basically call that out. The Broncos weekend recap is kind of a little bit more of the same. We saw a lackluster offensive line. We saw, a mediocre offense and an even poorer defense that really struggled against the run. Coach, I know you're coming up this week with the new game, but really it's the run defense that I think the Chargers and the Broncos can kind of both get behind and say has been a downfall for both of our teams in the last several years. You're repeating that again this year. The Broncos are, I want to say repeating it, but they are certainly not improving upon it this year, and they're getting worse, which I think is just a shout out and call out to just how important the right scheme with the right players is. So with that in mind, Broncos lost to the Jets. I really just think that we're going to start seeing a whole bunch of Broncos guys get traded. I think there's going to be a tear it down mentality.
Sell.
Yeah.
Dump it.
Yeah. So anyways, that's kind of where I'm at with the Broncos. Curious as to your thoughts in terms of how my team did. I don't really care if you're kind or not. Just call it as it is.
Understood.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad that the Jets won the Hackett Bowl. That's all I got to say.
The Hackett Bowl.
That was that man's greatest moment of his life, right there.
It might have been. It might have been.
It'll certainly rank up there, I think, for him. It was a well-deserved moment of so you thought it was me, eh? And
he said, "Oh no, no, no."
That's
yeah,
so fair.
and I really think that if I'm going to kind of go off on the rant about how the team is run and all that kind of stuff, I think that is something that really does need to be called out, which is, whether or not we go with Fangio, Hackett, and even now Sean Payton, is that the coaches coach the players they are provided. And the scouting department scouts the players that they bring in, and the combined groups of the GM and the scouts, both college and pro scouts, because all of our teams have both college and pro scouts, right? Like, a lot of people don't realize how the dynamics of the front office work, but all teams have both sets of scouts. They have a group of scouts that scout other pro players, and they have a group of scouts that go out and target the college players that are coming out both this year and next year, for example, in the draft looking ahead. And a lot of people just don't give credit to kind of those types of guys, and they also don't give the right amount of blame.
Those are the rats turning the wheel, man.
Right. They are. No, seriously, they are. They are literally the reason why, say, the Chiefs have the certain offensive linemen that they do, and why you guys are, consistently putting a solid product on the field. The scouts and everything are also the reason why the 49ers are fielding such a competitive team for the last 4 or 5 years. Everyone seems to just forget the 49ers exist, and then they come up with a 5-0 record or something stupid like that, and then it's like, well, the 49ers are doing really well. It's like, gee, I wonder why. Right? It's the front office and the back end folks that kind of make a team work. And it's super, super important that the right players and stuff are put in place to kind of make a team go. So anyway,
I can tell he's in a good mood because the Raiders won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anywho,
yeah, we're definitely going to talk about it because
what was that?
Never mind, I'll wait.
Yeah. Oh, you're cutting out.
Yeah. Every other word was missed.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to get rid of Windows, literally, so you guys can hear me. I say we'll talk about that because I remember somebody last week was saying something about how the Raiders weren't a better team than the Packers. I can't remember who it was.
I stand by that. I still believe
Did you
it.
hear that? Was that not a garble?
And now I stand by it. I still think it's a better team.
Chime that up.
Pitch that down.
I stand on it. I still think the Packers are a good, better team.
Yeah, where's that flag again?
Poop to bed.
So, I mean, I think that there's a few changes that need to be made in several of our teams. And Captain, my comments are directed at all three of our teams, including the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. I think we all need different things. I think we all need different changes. But at the end of the day, I think that if we truly want to compete, and I mean truly want to compete with some of the top tier teams within the AFC and ultimately the NFL at large, I think we all have some kind of hard looks in the mirror that we all need to make in order to properly compete with some of these other teams. Now that we've seen whether it be 2, 3, 5, or in the Broncos case 7 years of either similar issues or at the very least mediocrity, regardless of who else is brought in. And so you have to start looking at team culture when you start having multiple years, despite different people being in the building, leading the ship or captaining the ship. You have to start looking at the organization at that point.
Yeah, he's a dog nose.
and Bronco agrees, right?
Dogs, he said, "Ain't that the truth?"
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. So, anywho, guys, that's the Broncos weekend recap. Alex, you and I will have our little bout back and forth later on in the show where we discuss Thursday night football in terms of the absolute blowout that it will be a little later on. And until that time, I really would like to move on. With that in mind, I'm actually gonna move over to you, Captain, and discuss your win. Your win over the Packers.
Okay. Again, not to belabor the point, but I am going to belabor the point. What better team won? Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Better teams on win.
Just better team won. Now, here's the thing. Again, it was great to actually go to a game, and there was still a lot of off black in the stadium. You know, you caught that. But it was actually a very good time. Most of the I would say like 99% of the Packers fans were really, really, really cool. Sarah, shut up. Anyway,
damn.
And I like Mike, but Mike, shut up. Point is that it was the best thing that we had at the game was when the Packer fans did erupt with "Go Pack, go." Go, Pat. And there was a bit of that. The best kiss-off was at the end of the stadium. We all got a chance to go back home. Go back home, which was our way. And especially on the Amick Robertson interception, which was great. You know, the kid is like 5'10", and he's going up against a receiver that's like let's say 6'4", or just, I mean, it was that much of a difference as far as height, and for him to have hops like that to get the interception at the end was fantastic. The Raiders defense won that game. It was not the offense that won that game. The Raiders defense won that game. And I can't remember exactly who said it, but they're saying that the Raiders defense was coming around. They just needed the time to gel and get into the system with Graham, and the guys are coming around and playing the way they should be. And just imagine if we get a couple more of the players when Wilson starts coming along. And our linebackers, Spillane had 2 picks, one off a pick and one that was thrown right at him. I can't remember the last time I saw a linebacker intercept the ball in a game, let alone 2. So Spillane, who came over from the Steelers, played an excellent game. The defense as a whole played an excellent game. Now and this is the quote of the week. Now that they are starting to bitch that there should be a new rule in the NFL that if you horse collar a player that's going to make a touchdown, I mean the operative is going to make, who's to say if they're going to make a touchdown or not, that is going to make a touchdown, that they give you the touchdown. Okay? I don't know if Peters deliberately horse collared him. He just tackled him, and he grabbed anything he could. He tackled the guy. The guy was tackled at the whatever yard line. They gave him half the distance to the goal on a horse collar tackle, but they couldn't punch it in. You know what? Screw you. If you can't punch it in from the 3-yard line on a 1st and 10, and you have all those opportunities, I don't think you should have like an automatic opportunity. You should get the touchdown. And then that was the whatever, Mike. Okay, I'm allowed to be ornery. I'm pissed off. I'm unemployed, and there's a lot of other things going on, and I'm hurting physically and mentally. So, Mike, I love you, but SDFU. Okay, there we go. I kindly said it, and I know you support me, and I said thank you for supporting me. So just give me this. Point is,
all due respect.
with all due respect, shut up. Okay. And Georgia Patriot said it again, is that, the horse collar tackle saved the touchdown. So you're saying, now they should have a new rule, a new Raider rule, that because there's not enough Raider rules, right? There's not enough Raider rules in the NFL that they were talking about that. So Anyway, there you go. But it was a great win. It was a good time. It was a great weekend. And for all Raiders supporters, including my man Mike Serra, who says I'm in denial, I'm just enjoying the win, Mike, okay? And I'd like for you to enjoy the win as well, because if the Raiders play as well as their capabilities employ, and you got the Patriots team that's coming to town that is really hurting right now, who's to say maybe after this week we're back to 500? That would be fantastic. That's nice, Coach.
He said he's
true, though,
too,
hey,
Coach.
yeah. Hop on the train because Coach is conducting it.
Man, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah, I should wear a conductor's hat next week. Just to belabor the point.
You know, with all due respect, Coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With all due respect.
And I mean, with all due respect.
Right. Yeah. And, you know. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna ever make a rule that you're gonna get a guaranteed touchdown. I think that's ludicrous. I mean, even pass interference calls in the end zone get you on the 2-yard line. You don't get a guaranteed touchdown because it's PI in the end zone. So I don't think that's ever going to come to fruition. But you know, I mean, again, it was one of those things that happens. He horse collared them and it prevented a touchdown, and they didn't cash in from the red zone. So you know, it happens. You know, it happens. I mean, even holding penalties, you know, or you know, defensive holding, anything like of that nature in the red zone that could stop a person from getting, because people. I've even heard defensive coordinators and DB coaches say that, you know, if you could, it was better than you give them a pass interference call than a touchdown. Give up the PI, don't give up the touchdown, and then you get a chance to fight from the goal line. But you know, it's a tactic. You know, it's a tactic on both sides. I mean, I don't think they're going to get to the extreme of saying, "Oh, because of the Raiders horse collaring people to prevent touchdowns, we're going to give them a guaranteed touchdown." I doubt that highly. Anybody else?
I mean, I'm just going to say this, is that I think that what we saw was certain things with the Raiders were on the uptick, and we saw certain things with the Raiders that either remained the same or were not where I think Raiders fans would like to see their team. So I think we saw certain things where like, hey, wow, you know, those.
We still can't score over 17 points. Okay, technically one game we scored 18, but really we still can't score over 17 points. We scored 18, 17, 17, 17, and 10.
Right.
With the offense we have, that's anemic. That's anemic. So
right,
that's
and I think that's fair. So you're seeing some beneficial, you know, things happening on your defense where, you know, you're winning a couple games and you're doing so by keeping teams below that 17, 18, 15 point threshold, which is, you know, good for you. Like that's a feat. Anyone that says otherwise is lying to themselves. That's a feat. Keeping an NFL team below 15 points, good for you. That is a good thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think, you know, Coach, this is kind of towards you. Let's be honest, you guys as Chargers fans are saying our head coach is a defensive guy. Why does the defense look like the worst part of the team? And I think the Raiders side of the ball is saying our head coach is an offensive guy. Why is our offense looking like the worst part of the team? And I think you kind of have that on both sides, right? Between both of you, which is, it makes no sense.
It doesn't.
It makes no sense. I mean, I think both of your teams would be like, you know, Coach, if your defense was the worst part of if your defense was the best part of your team and your offense was struggling, you'd be like, yeah, well, guess what? You know, my head coach is a defensive guy. You know, we're going to have to kind of find the right guy to run the offense, and so be it. And I think, Captain, you'd be in the same boat. Hey, our offense is humming. We're putting up 30 points, but our defense, you know, can't stop a cold.
Yeah.
You know,
which is what he thought it would be. You know?
Yeah. And so you expected that, right? And then on the flip side of that, you're just like, it's the exact opposite sides. It's the exact opposite things. You're just like, this makes no sense.
Although I'd never said anything about a Hummer. That's the chick that Mark Davis was hanging out with.
I saw a post that said, "Yeah, he's there. She's there for his dashing good looks. That's for sure."
Apparently, she's a guitarist for Michael Jackson or something.
Was
Yeah, clearly was 12 years ago. But we know what the score is, and it's funny that how money makes the world go around. Because
And you know what? And Gabe is. I know that Gabe hasn't been in my show. Giants Gabe. He's like, reports are that Mark Davis is dating this chick, which apparently is really not the truth. But I'm like, hey, he's got money. He's got a hottie on his arm. Stuff makes the world go round, brother. Okay, you're 17. If you're okay, Gabe, when you're not 17 and you're as old as Mark Davis is, if you have as much money as Mark Davis does, and you have a honey like that on your arm, you'll say, you know what? I was probably a stupid kid when I made that comment.
At the end of the day, it's all about the hair.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's all about the hair.
Dumpster fire like this.
And that's why people said that Mark shouldn't get a haircut, because then he'll just look like Mr. Clean, and there's really no press in that. When you look like Mo, and everybody gets on your haircut, it's an object that continues the gift that keeps on giving, man. Just like herpes, you know.
Okay, and here we are.
Wait a minute.
Well,
Here's the clip. We're off the cliff now.
Well, I slid in with the Hummer, and then I went from there. You know what I'm saying?
With the Hummer, where are we at right now? Like, where
I
are we
don't know, man.
We turned into bizarre world. It's the Twilight Zone already, and it's only 8:00. Oh Lord!
Oh, and by the way, while I'm on the subject, Roku went to adult, so I can have people cuss and say stuff like this. So
There we
Richie,
go. Uncensored
Richie,
cat, baby.
we're good, man. We're good. I can do this, and you can post it to Roku when I figure out when my third night is. We're good, brother. We're good.
Yeah, what was Roku thinking?
I don't know. I'm just glad he said third night, not third leg.
Yeah.
But you know,
I said we got to cut this guy loose. Come on.
Right.
yeah.
He's being pigeonholed.
He's a peacock. We got to let him fly.
Yeah, and with that in mind, guys, on Captain's Roku channel will be his new after-hours show called Walk the Plank.
Walk the plank. Called the booty.
Just call me tripod, baby.
Walk the plank. Anywho, look, I mean, at the end of the day, a win's a win, regardless of how you end up getting that win, and you know that's a good thing. With that in mind, Alex, speaking of winning games, over to your Kansas City Chiefs. Interested to hear your thoughts in terms of where you're at, what you think things are going to look like going ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So no T Swift. We'll start off with that. So the streak of wins with Swift in attendance has ended, but still ended up winning 27-20 against the Vikings. You know, I thought it was another great game for the Chiefs defense as a whole. I went into that game fully convincing Minnesota to, you know, be putting up points and Justin Jefferson to just be getting his, you know, but he did get injured in the second half, which obviously impacted that productivity. But up to that point, Chiefs defense, more specifically L'Jarius Sneed, I thought played exceptionally well in defending Jefferson and Minnesota passing attack, which kind of you kind of got them out of their groove and kind of just somewhat ended the game from there. I mean, Chiefs offense still not as explosive or, you know, as as lucrative as they've been in past years in terms of how many points. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Hey, I thought a win was a win. Were we not just talking about that?
Unless you're the Chiefs, apparently.
Yeah. Hey, just the new Patriots, man. I used to hate on the Patriots when they won all the time. So, catch 22, I suppose. But, yeah.
You get a ball. You get a ball. You get a ball.
Yeah, I mean, that is the one plus side in the offense. And I think the Kelsey injury plus lack of apparent wide receiver one, is the offense and the passing game has been able to just spread the ball around. And I think he's hit 7+ receivers every game now. Oh, good. But yeah, I mean, for the lulls on the offensive side of the ball, this has not been your traditional Spags defense where it's kind of been really bad and a slow burn into playing decent football later in the year. I think the defense has really been the focal point of this team up to this point, which I think has been pretty evident by the close games that they're winning when the offense isn't totally where it's been in years past. That being said, though, I kind of looked into it further. You asking about, where the offense is at and looking at their kind of any metrics, they're really at the same pace, if not better in some departments than they were in years past. I think where they're lacking is the big explosive plays they used to get. And part of that comes with Kelsey, who's not fully 100%. And then the wide receivers being young and losing kind of at least the wide receiver one from last year. So having to figure out that kind of where you're getting the rest of the targets to go. But just a couple numbers. Currently right now, they're converting almost 47% on third downs when it's 3rd and 7+. And then when you bring it into 3rd and 2 short, they're 52%. So, I mean, they are absolutely moving the ball. And I think what we've seen in the recent games here is they're kind of changing the way that they play and focusing more on the run and not really going for the stats, more of game management and let's just win the game in a controlled manner, towards the end, which like you saw at the Jets, they had an 8-minute drive to close the game out after a Zach Wilson fumble. Similarly here, they drove the ball down and scored and then left it up with Kirk Cousins to have to throw a Hail Mary, which typical Kirk Cousins fashion to just end it and take a sack. But I mean, so it's the same, I'd say, offensive production in terms of moving the ball downfield. You're just seeing them do it in a different way. And I thought it was interesting. Listen to one of the Palmers. There's like 4 of them. I think Jesse Palmer talking about how, Brady in some years would throw for 5,000 yards, and then other years be like, okay, we have a really good defense. I'm just going to hand the ball off 40 times a game and make sure that I don't put them in bad situations. And I think that's what you're seeing Mahomes and the Chiefs offense kind of do here, is at least in the start of the season with the defense playing as well as it is. It's they're still effectuating their game plan and doing what they want to do. They're just kind of doing it a different way than they used to. But I mean, yeah, that being said, Pacheco, I thought's been a good positive light moving forward. Last couple of games and moving forward. You continue to see improvement in the younger receivers. I guess more so Rashid Rice, who's kind of become the 1B, I guess, so to speak. But he's still leading the league in drop rate, so that's pretty tough. But absolutely picking up more productivity and more stats as the weeks go on here. So I think we continue to see him do that. It's just kind of the roles have switched here in the kingdom, where the offense is the slow burn that you think will have it figured out later on in the season, where we hope the defense continues to play at the rate that they're playing, because they're playing pretty elite right now.
Interesting. Yeah,
And to answer your question, I expect them to be in the same opportunities they've had the last 7 years. So, I don't think until they just get absolutely embarrassed, I don't think you can count them out to win. Taking the Phillies just did something.
Yeah, Castellanos just hit his second home run. Harper had a 2 home runs and a 3-run shot. Phillies are beating the tar out of those people that do this, and not Kansas City.
Sorry, Coach. There's a Stephen A. Smith soundboard I would like you to cue up. Are you ready?
Yes.
They are the weed.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We had DZ in the chat already dropping it. We're ready.
Everything just aligned in that particular moment that I had to just, you have to own certain things, and that's certainly one of those things that you have to own. Mike, Stephen A. Smith said it best. I'm not even going to attempt it. So just heed the warning.
I got to agree, man. Like I said, I'd like to see that, but hey, Coach, one more time, please.
They off
Here,
the weed.
just for reference, Mike, I'm going to knock on wood before I bring this up. But here's just a quick little list of things that were not in existence the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs. All right.
Nice.
Number 1 being the iPhone 7. I believe the 15 is out now, so you can kind of do the internal math on that one. Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I think he's been in like 6 movies up to this point, so you kind of lay the timeline out there with the MCU, huh? White Claws, hard seltzers. Those were not out. That's like the national drink now. So, Hello, the song by Adele. Everyone knows that song. That didn't even come out yet. So, that was just half the list. Game of Thrones Season 6 wasn't even out yet. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that was great. That was great.
I got to ask.
Wednesday night snug for you, Sarah.
No, I got. Again, I've only seen the first episode of Game of Thrones. How many seasons did Game of Thrones have?
There's 8.
Too many.
No, you need to watch that, dude. That show is gold.
When I'm on my deathbed, it'll put me over. I'll watch it.
YouTube.
Wow, would YouTube advantage?
TikTok wasn't out yet, so I mean, there's one. I'm not you are this. Disney Plus, that wasn't a thing, but that's yeah.
Oh man!
And the Star Wars sequel trilogy, none of them came out yet. Boom.
Which trilogy?
The sequel trilogy.
The sequel.
Last 3 movies.
Captain, that is your number
one.
Yeah,
I was going to say, how did you watch the first episode and not continue? Because the very end of that is just some
smut
scenes.
Oh,
okay.
Man.
I'm just saying. So
one of these days, when I actually get some more time, I will.
Never mind.
I'm sure it's on one of the streaming services. Actually, HBO, right?
HBO. Max,
okay,
yeah.
I got that. I'll go there.
I'm gonna put it back in the holster.
Okay.
Holster 'em, baby.
Holster 'em, baby.
See,
anywho,
in any normal season, I would literally say, "Hey, you got to be careful with those comments because the Broncos could surprise you." But the answer is just no. The answer is no. No. Yeah, it's just not good.
It's really interesting about the 3 other teams. I mean, of course, I have my own litany of things that I can talk about the Chargers, but the Broncos, to me, starting with the Broncos for real quick, I find that it's the inability to put a game together. It's not necessarily completely terrible defense, not necessarily inept offense, because offense has actually been better holistically than last year's offense was ever in any stretch of last year. And largely your personnel is the same, with its O-line shuffling. So that part is interesting in its own right. The Chiefs' numbers and from an offensive perspective are near and dear the same, but it seems like you still have those growing pains when you change personnel around when it comes down to receivers, because clearly your receiving room is different. The only person is the same as Kelsey and Scott Moore. So that's interesting. And the defense, actually, ironically for the Chiefs, is actually playing better and a more concise unit than the offense is. They're more fluid than the offense right now, which is a complete utter flip of years past. And the Raiders just seem to play people tough. Again, you look at all their games except for the Bills game. It's been a dogfight, and people kind of wrote them off as being, not a good roster on offense or defense based on who their quarterback was and their personnel on defense. So it's a weird dynamic across the board about what teams are and aren't. So I would argue that, even though we have our issues and concerns, it's still a tough out, no matter who you playing. It's still a tough out, no matter who you're playing. So I would say that it's some positive and negatives that you can address in regards to every team in this division, in all honesty. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting because I really believe that this matchup on Thursday is going to be interesting because Kelsey may not play.
No, he's expected to play.
He's expected to play? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's been limited, but but who knows what that means? Like,
I read one report that said it was kind of questionable, so we'll see. I mean, I would like to believe he's going to try to be out there if he can, but
Mr. Pfizer will play.
Mr. What?
Mr. Pfizer will play.
Oh, Jesus. Here we go.
Mr. Pfizer will play.
Mr. Pfizer.
I play.
Yeah.
Like that scene in Longest Yard. Travis, you good? I play.
I play. Papa John's their safety.
Papa John's their safety. Yeah.
I play.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I do think Travis Kelce has taken a title away from one of the Raiders players. He literally looks like a legit porn star with that mustache.
No, he looks like a county sheriff with that mustache.
Yeah, like he looks just like
he turns.
Yeah.
Are you talking about their backup tight end who actually has been playing well?
No, we're talking about Kelsey.
Gray? We're talking about
Kelsey.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, because
Kelsey's got that mustache that is, he hasn't let it grow in thick. He's kind of got like that, just like that weird. I don't know. It's just it looks dirty.
We call that the state trooper in the States.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But in all fairness, Alex, when I look at the Chiefs Broncos matchup, kind of moving along and segueing into, honestly, it's just
Thursday
not
night
great.
Football, baby.
And I'm not talking John Elway drunken segue either. I'm talking an actual segue like you would in media here. Although the game might look like a drunken segue.
John Elway drink? What?
I know.
What?
Say welcome to
it explains a lot of our draft picks. We'll just put it that way. And so when we,
take over, Monty.
So he's some good Canadian shit.
Yeah.
Oh, he's uncensored now, baby.
There it is. Caps off. Tigers out the cage.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Tigers out the cage.
Just ask John Elway how the 2012 and 2013.
That is true. Ada might be onto something. Maybe Kelsey's about to pop up in some Brawny commercials. And
I think Anna and DZ got a point because you look at DZ's comments about the Miles Teller bringing it back in Top Gun.
Yeah, I mean, it could be in the the sequel.
Maverick, not Top Gun. Maverick.
It was called
I
Top
believe
Gun
the title
Maverick.
is Top Gun Maverick. So,
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick.
It was Top Gun : Maverick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But when we look ahead to the Broncos, when we look to the Broncos Chiefs game, I really, this is really an opportunity for the Chiefs to kind of basically do what the Jets did, which is test different offensive concepts. And I think that's what ultimately. No, I'm serious.
Some schoolyard BS. Huh?
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. I think what you're going to see from the Chiefs is you're going to see Andy Reid start pulling out different offensive concepts, run schemes, etc., to see what they look like against a subpar defense to at least kind of gauge what their success can be.
It's the annexation of Puerto Rico.
He's just jabbing himself, dude.
I'm glad you finished that because all I heard was Andy Reid pulling out, and I just had a really bad vision. Yeah, no, I can't undo that.
Tell me about your vision.
Yeah, that was.
No. It wasn't nice.
Tell us again with these nuggies, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not gonna go there.
in my opinion,
I hope they come out in the snow globe
you're
first
gonna
play.
feel like you're running back.
Reminders.
You're going to
Love
see
it.
running plays that you haven't seen really work before work against the defense because you have a good offensive line and our defensive line has not done a tremendous amount. You're going to see poor edge pressure like we've had pretty much most of the season from the Denver Broncos. And again, your offensive line is starting to gel now as a unit as the season's gone on, because that's what happens when you have a scouting department that actually knows what they're doing. And they truly go out and find guys that have the traits that look like they're going to work together as a unit, and then you basically coach them up to then gel as that unit, and that's what your team has done so far. I mean, you've had a legit offensive line for
Show us on this doll. This point.
I don't want to relive the moment.
Here, I got a little mini Mahomes here. This point, where was it? Was it here? Up there? Where are we talking?
There. No. Stop it. It wasn't funny the first time.
We're gonna need to take
man.
5. This is heavy.
Yeah, man.
that was funny.
Oh man, that was hilarious. Asylum, you're hilarious, buddy.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was good.
Asylum from the top deck.
Yeah.
Watch your man Savage.
Yeah. But
man.
at the end of the day, this is, I think, what you're going to start seeing from the Chiefs. And until you start seeing the other teams in the division start to behave in lockstep, drafting and approaching things with vision, with an end goal in mind, you're going to end up with the same thing over and over again, which is, you have Coach, as an example, Bolt Bros and you kind of made the same comment. How can you tell that dude's a Chargers wide receiver? Well, he's 6'4" and about 220 pounds.
Yep, that's about right.
Yeah, right. And so it's
Unless
like
he's 5'8".
No, but it's literally kind of like the MO, right? And it's like, so if you're not willing to change things that are not working well, and you're willing to just stick with your kind of deficiencies as a team and as a core culture problem, you're never going to get better. And the Broncos are in the same position, bringing in guys that don't fit your scheme, scouting guys and drafting guys, and then constantly changing out coaches without an end goal in mind. What are you trying to do? How are you trying to get there? What do you want to look like? What scheme are you drafting for? If you can't if you can't answer those questions, you're just going to fail. And the Broncos, that's where the Broncos are at right now. Coach, I would argue the Chargers are in a similar position with certain positions on your team where you're trying to fill gaps and fill holes without a specific vision. And I think that's what you and others in the Chargers world are basically pointing out, which is, what is your defensive identity? What are you drafting for? What type of kind of look are you going for as a defense? And if you can't answer those, and you're going to end up the way you guys look now, which is you continuously have run defense problems. Continuously.
And it's a delicate marriage when it comes down to having the owner, the GM, and the coach all on the same page when it comes down to selecting personnel holistically. Because harkening back to the argument about the Bryce Young and CJ Stroud argument, where the owner wanted Bryce and the coaching staff wanted CJ, and we see how that worked out. So it's very delicate. But you're right. I mean, everything you said was spot on. You have to exactly and definitively get the guys that fit your scheme and do what you need them to do, and that's where it becomes a issue on the field if you can't get those guys. And again, it may not be an overnight thing, but again, if we're spending, your guys' case, you on a new coach. We've dealt with the same coach for 3 years, and we still have questions. We should never at this point still have questions about what your identity is, what you're trying to get accomplished. You can't just throw a bunch of dudes on the field and expect them to just be good. You have to have some type of finite vision about what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. Are we going to be dominant pass rushing, cover well in the back end? We have stellar linebacker play, or we're going to have stout run defense. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I still can't answer that definitively for the Chargers. And again, that's where you have the problems, and that's why you give up the points that you give up. Because again, between the lack of vision and or the lack of a solid or consistent play from your defensive staff, depending on who it is week to week, you have struggles. So again, I don't know exactly what the mindset is, if you look at it from Staley's point of view, because again, he's the one, calling the shots, pulling the strings. It's a mess. It really is a mess. I mean, and I don't know, honestly and truly, at this point, how can you fix it? Just kind of try to hold on and hope the offense keeps humming, and then, we'll just cross our fingers.
No, I completely agree with that as a statement. So, I mean, basically, if I'm doing my look ahead for the KC game, I'm looking at this being a 14-point minimum loss for the Broncos. I see this as at least a
10.5. So
yeah, I see this as a 14+ point game loss, in my opinion. I think that you're going to see. I think you're going to see a difference in the Chiefs. I think you're going to see a run that works, which is going to start stretching out these drives, and then I think that KC has got quite a solid defense this year. I mean, the defense has really leveled up from years past, and that was really your weakness in years past, right? Where you had an average defense, but your offense was just humming. Yeah. And now your offense is not doing nearly as well as it once did. But I think when you have a defense like the Broncos that is not really playing well at all, like we're like what, 34th in the NFL or something?
35th, I believe.
Yeah. I'm glad you picked up on that, Coach. That was great. Yeah. So when you look at a team that can't field a defense that is really serviceable in many categories at all, you end up where running backs like the Chiefs that are traditionally not a running team will have success doing the, running the ball. You're going to have, you saw that with the Jets. You saw that with the Dolphins. You saw that with several of the opponents that realize we can run on these guys. And Andy Reid, look, as much as you may wish that he was not as good as he is a legit offensive mind in the NFL, very similar to Sean Payton. Okay. Despite a lot of the issues that the Broncos have this year, the Broncos have made major leaps forward in the offensive stats categories in terms of points per game, points per play, et cetera. What our real issues have been is that our defense can't get off the field, and then our offense is, struggling in kind of middle sections of games. We're doing well at the end and at the beginning, and it's the middle section of games where we're struggling. And that I actually put on the quarterback, but that's a story for a different day. But
we're gonna kick that can down the road.
Yeah, we're gonna kick that can kind of further down the season a little bit. I think what you're gonna see is a lot of runs, and then I think you're gonna see KC run to kick off the pass, and then that will start opening things up for Mahomes, whereas he was used to traditionally having like a McCole Hardman or Tyreek Hill to stretch the field. And I think they're going to use the run to bring in the defensive players for the Broncos, who still won't be able to stop it anyway, so don't worry. But I think that will then stretch out the back end of the field to enable those deep passes.
Air football stretching out the back end.
Yes, you saw my face, man. You knew I was going with it.
Careful about that. But it's an interesting stat. Russell Wilson is only 77 yards behind Patrick Mahomes in passing yards, and he's 11 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, where Patrick is 10 touchdowns to 4 interceptions.
Yeah, he plays in garbage time games, dude. He's got to pass more.
That's exactly it. So, Coach, Coach, this is why.
And Jake, yes, I do.
Stats are great, but without context, they're meaningless. And so the question is, what percentage of those yards came when the Broncos were down, where they could never catch up? Right.
Well, yeah, you get pass happy when you're down, and if you're down every game, I guess you would have what people like to call empty calories.
I feel like every time red zone cuts to the Broncos game, it's Russ passing in the 3rd and 10.
Right. So,
saying.
so Coach, I kind of equate that to, and actually I was, believe it or not, at one point I had some critique for Von Miller. And that was back in the 2013 season where the Broncos were just basically playing Madden on the field in terms of points. Right? Like the Broncos were just unbelievable in the 2013 season in terms of points, where teams were just struggling to catch up. So they would go up kind of like what the Broncos are going down by this season, except they were going up on teams that season by, 2-3 scores. And then Vaughn was just able to then tee off on opposing quarterbacks. And people kept on saying, oh my gosh, his sack total's like, 15.5 or 16 or 17. Look how good he is. And it's like, well, look at when those sacks are coming. He's getting those sacks when they're 2-3 scores up. Well, what about the sacks when you need them the most? What about the sacks like Aaron Donald gets where he's coming right up the gut?
Game-changing sack.
The dagger sack.
The dagger sack. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those are the ones where you're like,
dive in.
What does that score sheet look like? Where are those stats? Why aren't those being tracked? And
but you can't quantify them because those are the intangibles that you can't really
tough metric to
that's a tough one.
That's just it. It's just that it factor.
There it is.
And that's where your eyes come out, right? So for example, Mahomes might not have the greatest stats, but guess what? He had like 4 plays the other day where he stretched a play where he should have been sacked and he ended up throwing for a first down. Well, guess what? That's not tracked as a next gen stat or any stat. But guess what? That's why they're 4-1.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Where like they've changed their. 2 years ago it was let's just throw bombs to Tyreek and hit Kelsey underneath to open that up, and then it's like we lost Tyreek. We're still gonna just throw bombs, but it's whoever's out there. And we've seen them change, especially the last couple games, to almost run first to set up some passing later. While they're trying to kind of figure out what they got. Because, right now, Justin Watson is the deep guy, which he comes through sometimes. But, like, you go from Tyreek Hill, that you don't, like they used to benefit from someone that teams had to bracket or double cover, and now it's we can bracket or double cover Kelsey and then let your no-name or unproven guys have to, beat us, make them beat us. Which I think that's why you've seen them as they've kind of figured those lulls out, so to speak. I think that's why you've seen them almost start with the run first and just build off of that. So that's, why I think Mahomes' stats are a little lower, but that's like how they've realized, that's what it's going to take for them to win with what they've got on the defense and maybe some of these matchups they're playing. So, I can tell you one thing. 2 years ago in that Chiefs-Jets game, like they would not have had an 8-minute drive to close the game out. They would have probably came out and thrown 2 deep posts at Tyreek, maybe hit one of them, maybe not. Then look at 3rd and 10, probably throw a screen and, go on. But then I think that's why you've kind of seen them mature and you've seen Mahomes mature in terms of the decision-making. At times he still is like the Jets game through 2 errant interceptions that you're like, what are you looking at? But I'm not going to really question his judgment. He's definitely knows more than me. But you've obviously, I think you've seen a change in how he goes through his progressions and, the decisions he makes where he goes with the ball, compared to years past where maybe they didn't have as good of a running game to implement into the offense. So that's kind of what they had to do. But yeah, I echo the preview insight you provided to this game, Richie, mainly because it was pretty favorable for our side of the track here. But I do think it's going to be a pretty close game, mainly because these games have always been that way. Like I said before we got on the show, I didn't look back too far, but outside of December 5th of 2021, which was 22-9 Chiefs, every game has been 6 or less points. That's including the 2 last year when, it was at least the defense. That's an interesting. I think they played around this point last year, but I think it was in Denver
Right.
It's
So
a divisional game, man.
Yeah, it's a divisional game.
games are close.
I
It
said it.
is.
I mean,
Look,
and that's
look,
I don't
I'm
think
calling it right
the
now.
Chiefs are putting up Miami Dolphins numbers. I don't
They
think
are.
that I don't think they're hitting 14 points. I do think they're going to win. I think the largest margin is 10.
No, you're wrong, but that's okay. You're allowed.
I hope I'm wrong. That would be awesome if I'm wrong. I'll have one hell of a Thursday night if I'm wrong. But
yeah,
I'm just
you're
saying, looking at how these games go, being
Recently,
interdivision,
it is
like,
division.
I don't see it being a giant blowout. I mean, I think there's going to be some uncharacteristic, successful plays, either on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side for the Broncos, that are going to make it a little bit closer game in the midpoint, like you were talking about, than it has been in these other, the Bears or the Dolphins games. Like, just because it is divisional and they know, like, I mean, Vance Joseph was a Broncos head coach. So, I mean, he's very familiar with this, matchup, and it's just a familiar opponent. So it's just, it's never going to be a blowout, regardless of how bad any side is versus how good the other one is.
I'm going to disagree for a couple of reasons. One, DJ Jones is not playing, who is far and away our best run defender, which is going to really hinder our ability to.
He's out.
Yeah, he's out.
Thanks.
Like, he is far and away the best run defender on the Broncos.
Yeah, I did see he was out.
Well, then you shouldn't have said that it was going to be a close game then if you didn't know that one of our best run defenders was out. What's the matter with you? Come on.
I mean, you're ranked 35th, so I mean,
well, this is true.
Frank Clark's also out, man.
And Frank Clark is
The
also
Shark's
out.
not going to be out.
Yeah.
He
So-
said, "I can't do this in front of my old boys, man.
Yeah.
I'm sick."
Frank Clark had an odd illness that came about him, which is called embarrassitis.
COVID. You got COVID.
No, embarrassitis, which is basically I am too sick to play on the field because I don't want to be embarrassed to be seen in the orange in front of my red former team.
Man, I can't do it, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just that simple. So anyways, that's kind of where I think that's going. So we have our best run defender out. We have who's now a rotational backup in kind of the edge room for the Broncos, in fairness to Frank Clark. But nonetheless, he does turn it on in the postseason, but the Broncos won't even sniff the postseason, just don't even bother with that. And so as a result of that, I think that will really hinder our ability to do what you're thinking we're going to do, which is if you can't stop the run and you can't stop the pass, then this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
Hey, I mean, like I said, I'm all for that, man. But I'm just like looking at the history of the matchup, especially it's not like the Broncos have been any good, in the past couple recent years here. And I gave Sarah a nice rundown of things that weren't in existence the last time they won, but those games have still been decided by 6 points or less. So I just don't see how this is going to be any different because it is an AFC West matchup.
Well, the one difference is that the Broncos this year are averaging about 36 points given up per game in the 2023-2024 season. And at the same time last year, which is what you're referencing when we played the Kansas City Chiefs back-to-back when we first had Russell Wilson, the Broncos were averaging something like less than 13 points or something like that per game. Which by any metric would typically mean that you should have a winning record, and the Broncos were about even. If memory serves.
We can look this up. Now we've got it. Okay, so last one was on January 1st, and then December 11th.
DZ, if you can get Jaleel, get him.
Jaleel, yeah.
Jaleel,
he's still available. Get him, bro.
Get him. Just get him.
Yeah.
Look, the Broncos suck badly. That dude is legit.
He's the McLaughlin.
Yeah, he is legit.
McLaughlin.
Yeah. He also fits that that role that Peyton knows how to use, where he can catch the ball and run the ball, but he has that speed. So he kind of fits that Kamara type role, which literally just kind of fits like a glove into this system.
Yeah. Literally last 3 outings here, 27-24, 34-28, 28-24.
Yeah, but what time of the year were the
before
last
that,
two last year?
December and January. So, I mean, a little earlier, a little sooner.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. But anyways, my general thought process is we have a few good guys. Most of them seem to be Sean Payton guys. And the ones that are also doing well are flyers, like Jaleel McLaughlin, undrafted free agent. Well, that's a roll of the dice that you happen to land on. Good for you. Yay. You have Jonathan Cooper that's outplaying his 7th round draft pick status. Great. Good for you. But at the end of the day, you need those 1st and 2nd round guys to be hitting. You need that starting left tackle to actually look like a starting left tackle and a lot less like a WWE wrestler tackling guys to the ground. You need, the guys that you brought in as high-priced free agents to not be giving people the people's elbow in order to block them on the line. You need them to actually block like offensive linemen. And the Broncos are just simply not getting that. And at some point, the refs will start calling these offensive holding penalties, which the Broncos will get slaughtered by if you were to actually go back and look at the film and the tape. And I do wonder if we're going to start seeing that coming up. But anyways, Alex, I think we both.
I do hope we come out in the snow globe first play just for Quinn. That'd be awesome. Nice little cherry on top.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really do think that this is going to be somewhere in the vicinity of a 14-point to 20-point game in favor of the Chiefs. I think that with the guys that are out, that will really start to highlight some of the holes and gaps on our roster. And I do think that some of the guys that are being held out because they have trade offers for them, and the Broncos are saying yes. And I think that that's really where it comes down to. DJ Jones is certainly a guy that if I'm on a competitive team, I'm certainly trading for him. Frank Clark, he's got playoff experience and some of the best stats in the postseason. So if I'm a team like the Bills, or if I'm a team like, a few other these guys that are looking like they're going to make deep playoff runs, I'm saying yes. Even if I give up a 4th round pick, dude, I don't care. If I can make it deep into the playoffs or even get to the Super Bowl, yes, please. And so, because that alone gets extra cash in the owner's pocket that you're willing to give up a 4th or 5th for.
Do you think they move Simmons? You think Simmons moves?
I would hope so.
Yeah, I forgot you hate him.
I hate that dude.
Yeah.
I hate that dude.
Another guy.
Trade him for a washing machine.
Yeah.
No.
Another guy.
A ham and cheese sandwich with 2 bites out of it and a half a bag of pretzels.
Another guy that could be very surprising that could be moved before the trade deadline is also Patrick Surtain.
Dang.
Wow.
That would be. We need this. Where's the siren at? We need that.
That's a fire sale.
That's a bomb drop.
Yeah, there we go. That's
bomb drop.
That's
all of that.
Well, so everyone says that people are crazy for even bringing this up, and fair enough. I can appreciate how someone might say that, but I think we need to look no further than the Dolphins. So the Dolphins, when they kind of came to the self-realization that they needed to just simply tear it down to rebuild, they got rid of anyone that mattered at all, and they just sucked for 2 years. And they just acquired 1st-round pick after 1st-round pick by trading.
Tank for 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And they brought in those 1st-round picks. They brought in that draft capital, and they did so by trading their best players. Our best player right now on our roster, and it's not even close, is Patrick Surtain. And so if you're going to try to rebuild the roster, and that's what your goal is, because look, we are not looking great, and we have not looked great for years, is to trade Patrick Surtain. You try to nab those 2 first-round picks, one this year and one next kind of deal, and we go from there. That's it, in my opinion. And I think that that's what your goal is as a Broncos fan should be. As much as it pains you to see a guy of that caliber go, you want him to go to a team where he can win, but you also want to get the capital so that your team can also win in the future.
Yeah, I mean, look at like the Tyreek situation, right? I mean,
Exactly.
It's you obviously he's a great player. You have to recognize that, but you have to know when it's not financially feasible. Because you could, if you kept Surtain, it's like you got to pay him in what, 2 years, 3 years, 2.
I think it's 3 because I think you have a 5th-year option because he's a first-round pick.
Yeah. So I mean, it's either you got to pay him money and then hope by the tail end of that next contract you've rebuilt everything to a fine-tuned machine, or you have a quicker rebuild, but then you got to worry about paying him on top of the other people. So it's like, why not try to get some capital out of it? He gets him to the Chiefs. That'd be sweet.
Exactly.
I'm sure it would be. If
so,
I'm not
over to you,
going to pay the tan unless it's
hold up.
What we got?
What do we got here, Cap? I see you didn't greet your guests at the door, huh?
No, I didn't get a chance to greet my guest at the door. I don't know whether you heard it before the mute went off. Jay! And of course I hit mute as soon as I could.
The meatloaf.
Yeah. But for all those that are in the house, and I know he can't hear me because I got my headphones on. For those that don't know, the great Joker Raider is in my house right now. If you don't know who Joker Raider is, shame on you. And we'll be doing the show. We'll be doing, we see it, but like you said, we see that's a smug. That's a smug right there. That's the KC smug. But hey, one thing I can say about Joker Raider, go to JR60 Brands, and not only do you get great Raider gear, you got the other stuff going on too, right?
They do custom stuff.
Yeah, they do custom stuff. That's not just Raider gear. So JR60 Brands, you're going to get great Raider gear and other custom stuff. They will even do stuff that is aligned to Smugs and Broncos and
Smugs,
and I got to do it, Coach. I got to do it. Garglers, okay? Because I haven't hit it yet. I got to do it at least once a show. I got to drop a gargler.
I got it.
Yeah. So Joker Raider, JR60 Brands, great guys. Like Asylum says,
personal stamp review from Asylum 77 here. So
there you go.
Yeah. So, and again, I don't pay him for that, and Asylum doesn't pay him for that, and no Taylor Swift stuff yet. Not yet, Charles.
Swifty Kingdom.
Well, yeah. He just said it's Swifty Kingdom. Can you guys hear him? He'll talk into the microphone.
We can hear him.
Yeah. He can't hear because unless I turn off the wait a second.
So, Captain, with that in mind, now that we have dual Raiders fans there, what about your upcoming game this week? What are your thoughts?
Okay, he's asking about the upcoming game this week. I'm going to let my guest prognostize. I know that I almost kind of butchered that. The game. Joker, your thoughts on the game this week? Coming up.
And I think for the Raiders, it's a must win. I mean, they need to keep on going. McDaniels, I think every game, his job hangs on every game played. He's being critiqued. He's being broken down. Every bad call, every bad decision. I mean, look at the last game. They win the big win this past week on Monday night. And they're still picking apart his play calling, some questionable decisions. Do we go for a 52-yard field goal, or do we just sneak it for a first down and seal the game right there? So, I mean, I just think every game's a big game for our coach. But when it comes down to it, the Patriots are right where we wanted them as a league. I think one thing that everybody on this podcast right here, just on the air right now, can agree on is that Patriots are right where we've been wanting them to be for the last 2 decades, basically, and they're primed to go down the sewer, and we can all enjoy that together. I think that's one thing that's going to bring us all together in unity is watching the rise. We watch the rise. Let's watch the fail of the Patriots, and I think that's one thing we can all agree on, that they're going down in a shitter faster than shitting in a greased fucking toilet. They're hot garbage, bro. And for everything. Watching Belichick unravel and become even more uncomfortable with the questioning is, I mean, that kind of makes my day. I kind of look forward to that. Seeing a Belichick press conference is so much more enjoyable today. Watching him squirm and watch him answer questions, and before it was kind of smug with his gibberish answers, and you'd have to read between his cryptic answers. And now you could actually see him confused, not really understanding what has happened. It's kind of the equivalent of he sold his soul to the devil for those championships, and guess what? Now the rent is due, and it's time to watch his downfall.
You see why I shut up and let the man talk? You guys got enough of me, man.
I'm all for that, though. I would absolutely love to see that.
The question will be, what is his leash ultimately? Belichick.
That's where paper bags. Huh?
Richie wants to know what his leash is. Belichick's leash.
Man, I to be honest with you, I think Belichick will bail out gracefully, and he'll go out on his own terms, let him fall on a sword. I don't think he's going to get fired, but I think that it's going to be mentioned to him. The bug's going to be in his ear, and I think that Kraft will come and have a private conversation with him. And I think for everything that Belichick, I mean, in all seriousness, look what he's done for the organization. It is what it is. We, as fans, we'd all love to have our teams do what the Patriots have done, right now. Basically, right? It's like they're passing the baton, right? So the thing is, I do believe that Belichick has earned the right to kind of bow out on his own terms, and I think it's going to be he'll make the season. He'll finish the season out, but I don't see him coming back next year.
Yeah,
I really
they
don't.
were talking about Mike Vrabel being his replacement today on
Talking about
the radio.
being his replacement.
Interesting.
That's a possibility, man. I mean, McDaniels is going to be free. He can have McDaniels back. McDaniels will be free next year because I don't see him coming back to the Raiders. And we'd love to ship him. Maybe we could arrange something like
first round picks.
we'll take a 6th and 7th round pick for McDaniels right now if they want to take him back.
Wow.
Well, the interesting thing will be is if Belichick bows out of New England and just simply says that it's no longer for him. They've kind of separated and want to go different. Yeah. It would be very interesting to see if he tries to coach again, but for a different team at the end of this season.
Coaches for another team.
I just don't see it, man. I think Belichick's getting to the point where he's just gonna ride off into the sunset. You know what I mean? What is he else? He has nothing else to prove. He has nothing else to accomplish.
Actually, that I disagree with. He has
done.
several things to prove.
He's done it all.
He needs to prove. He needs to prove that it was him as being a reason, and that he can do it again.
Him, not with Brady.
Not with Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if he lets his ego really get in the way to do that, that will be the unraveling and the ultimate downfall of his career. I think the fact that if he does try that and he fails, it's going to unravel everything he's accomplished right now. You know what I mean? It's going to tarnish everything he's accomplished as a head coach if he tries and he fails without Brady. I think he's smart enough to realize that it did take Brady to win those championships. It did take a team. It did take the Patriot way of things to do things, But if he lets his ego kills, right, and everything we do, ego is going to kill. And if he does that, what became his legacy would be his ultimate downfall because he'll revert back to when he was a head coach of the Browns.
Yeah, I actually think Mike's comment here is going to be interesting in that way there, which is if he has a staple quarterback, as in a Justin Herbert or someone that is of that caliber, I think
it's a possibility. I mean, one thing is you never know.
I think he can do it again, but he needs like a Herbert. He needs a guy who is in that top 5 in the league. Who then when he builds a defense on the other side of the ball, which I don't care who you are, Belichick is very good at defensive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
The problem is
I wouldn't compare Herbert to Brady though. I mean, it's not the same type of quarterback.
Did you hear this, Coach? Go ahead and say it again there, Joker.
I wouldn't compare Herbert to Brady. I think Herbert is at this point in his career grossly overrated. I think he's very athletic. I think he has the potential to be a good quarterback, but he makes some really bad decisions on the field.
Hey, what? Yeah. Give me the guns, man.
Against the Raider team, who has been traditionally horrible on defense, we made Herbert look very average in that game.
I mean, it's a division game.
If not below average.
That's not a hot take, but I mean, we can look at the numbers and say that Herbert is vastly rated the way he needs to be, and where he lands in the statistical categories. He's top.
I don't think he's proven anything.
Category. I mean,
I think he's an athletic quarterback. He's a good athletic quarterback. Josh Allen, a good athletic quarterback, still hasn't accomplished anything.
Well, I mean, nobody's accomplished anything.
I think Herbert and Allen probably on the same type of on the same plane.
That's fine. I mean, he's definitely not in the bottom tier of anything. So I mean, he's definitely not overrated. I mean, again, you know, you can look at the stats.
Don't get me wrong. I'd take him over Garoppolo any day.
I'm sure you would.
He's a good quarterback. I'll take him over Garoppolo. You know, any day.
GMs will knock over their mama to get Justin Herbert as their starting quarterback right now. Let's be honest about it. So I mean, again, and going back to Bill Belichick's thing, I don't think Bill Belichick will ever coach again in the facet that most teams don't want to give up personnel control. Bill wants to have personnel control and coach. So most people don't want to give up GM control and have him coach. So if they don't want to give up those bird rights, they're not going to hire him as a coach.
Chargers have not been traditionally an organization that allows you to have that.
Well, kind of I was going to say, go ahead and say it again there, Tucker.
I don't feel like the Chargers have traditionally been that organization to give their coach the ultimate power like that to be able to do it. I mean, it's not. It just hasn't been the way they run their organization. You know,
that's why they wouldn't hire.
You're going to have to look at an organization what organization is going to let their head coach have absolute power, like, you know, and it's going to be tough in this day and age. There's too many.
I mean, look at those organizations that have done that too recently, like Chip Kelly, right, with the Eagles. Out. Like the only reason Belichick's been able to do it for this long,
had that worked out?
At least successful. Remotely.
Had that worked out? And Chip Kelly with the Eagles was not only the downfall of the Eagles at the time, it was a downfall of Chip Kelly. How long did it take Chip Kelly? He's never regained the status he did when he left Oregon. Exactly. Never. UCLA, Chip Kelly in UCLA is like sitting in warm shit right now. It's comfortable for him. He's comfortable to be there. He's under the radar for the most part, but he's also has a little bit of spotlight because it is UCLA. They play a competitive game. But he's never going to be that Oregon. I mean, there's something about when he was in Oregon that was special. I mean, you're seeing Oregon kind of getting back to that in college football right now. You see Oregon at that level right now. But that level of play does not transcend into the NFL. And, you know, the NFL, you got kids in college that you can discipline to a certain extent, right? But when they come to the NFL, you can't tell them anything. Well, it's the same thing. And then as a head coach, you don't have the same power to call the shots and do everything you want to do in the NFL, you know. And
we're going to have to bust out. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that.
Gentlemen, with that, unfortunately, I appreciate you giving my shipmate the airtime. Coach, it's always great with you and your Charger friends. Alex, for the Smug Kingdom, appreciate you, brother.
You too.
Mike, Sarah, you know, again, drop it, Coach.
Stay off the weed.
There you go. And Richie, it'll be a good show. It's a good thing to watch tomorrow, gentlemen. We appreciate the time. Thanks again. And for those that are not tuning into my show at 9, please tune in to Coach's show with the Real Givens. In fact, get two friggin' profiles up and view us both. Okay, watch both.
Broncos win tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, and also
tell him to stay off the weed. Yeah, come on.
Said it as well.
Kelsey does not play. Broncos win.
You said if Kelsey doesn't play, Broncos win.
Captain, you're
I'm just saying
to lay off the sauce And South Park said it best: drugs are bad. Okay?
They said for you to lay off the sauce as well. He's been sober for quite a long time.
Well,
I'm sure he has the chips to prove it.
Drugs are bad. Okay.
Drugs are bad.
The drugs.
Good.
Guys go.
Depends on the drugs.
Well, yeah. Take care, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And you just proved my point as to why you were wrong.
Well,
D said. Oh man.
So, last but not least, Coach, we'll throw over to you. Chargers this week. You are coming off a bye.
Against them boys.
I would normally say that for a lot of teams that would be a very good thing. For the Chargers, that's been, we'll call it mixed.
yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing about this particular set of circumstances when it comes down to the bye is that we finally are allowed to let some people rest and get healthy. I think we're probably going to be the healthiest we've been in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Looks like Derwin's back trending to playing. I think Austin Eckler's most say he's 99% going to play. So that's 2, Pro Bowl-like players back in the lineup. So that's good. There's no more J.C. Jackson. So that particular, dynamic, whatever that was, or that mistake was gone. So we'll see how the secondary performs with him not being there. We're giving our young guys some more burn, Jesse Taylor in particular. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what the team looks like going forward. It's funny because I'm actually doing a little take on this particular dynamic about Dallas on my 30-minute lockdown on Thursday morning. Is that their offense isn't, and we kind of saw this saw a lot of it on Sunday, where the 49ers undressed them pretty bad, and they've been living high off their defense. So I think that if we can move the ball on them. And it's not lost on me that it's a Kellen Moore revenge game. So I think that he's going to try to his best to prove that he was the reason why the offense was good last year, and how they're taking steps back this year. So I think that he's going to try to come out smoking, guns blazing, and try to put up points. So if he's able to do that and put pressure on their defense and make the Dallas offense keep up, I think we got a really good shot at winning the game. It is at home, so we ain't got to travel. We got to do nothing crazy. We got to go visit Jerry World or anything like that. So that's a bonus. So it should be an interesting game. But I will say we've struggled against teams that don't stop the run well. So I'm not going to sit here and act like we're going to be able to run the ball against this stout front. But it's interesting too because their D-line is still intact. But they're talking about moving Michael Parsons off the ball, so they're going to lose the edge rusher, and their linebacker, the middle linebacker's out, Van Der Esch. So it'd be interesting to see how they perform defensively with those guys missing in different roles. But I mean, I like our chances. I think that
and they just got embarrassed.
Hey, right. Yeah, so
they just got embarrassed.
Their confidence a little bit shaky. It was a rough watch for them, a rough experience for them on Sunday. So they're coming off that. Kellen's had 2 weeks to prepare. I'm assuming Herbert's left hand is intact and we can do everything we want to do offensively. I think we got a good chance.
I need his hand to be intact, man.
Well, you and me both. I mean, he's one of my fantasy quarterbacks, so I need that. I need it for 2 reasons: for my fandom and my fantasy. So
let the boys play.
Right. So I'm hoping for a really dynamic game. And the biggest issue and the biggest thing we need to do is put pressure on the defense. We can put pressure on that defense because it is stout. We do that, and we can hold up in pass pro. I think we got a good shot to win again because I don't trust their offense. I really don't. I think that it sputters, especially in the red zone. Dak's decision making is questionable at times. So we just got to capitalize on that particular aspect of it. Again, that's the game plan. That's the blueprint. Can Staley and Nils boys execute it? That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, the Cowboys have have 2 kind of big issues. One, their offensive line is not good, or at least not great. And
it's been a revolving door because they've had somebody hurt like every week.
Right. No, but that's my point, right? Which is one thing that Dallas had for years, especially when Dak was in his early career. They were a wall.
Oh yeah,
like they were just
Tyron Smith.
Oh yeah. Like
Frederick, Zach Martin.
Yeah.
That's era. Yeah, that Tony Romo era, early Dak era.
Like
It
they
was-
were
with
they
Elliott,
were
with
just-
Zeke, when
Yeah.
Zeke was prime, like prime
Yeah.
Zeke, you know,
Oh, yeah.
like
and so
top 5 line.
right. So you had a top 3 offensive line, if not a top 2 offensive line with the Dallas Cowboys when Dak was there. You had a top 1 to 2 running back with Zeke that was there as well. And then you had Dak Prescott that was kind of figuring things out, but could do so because he had a line that could keep him upright and allow him to take the time to process that he needed, right? Now, you fast forward to now, and you have a line that's basically a bunch of turnstiles, and Dak that is incapable of processing fast enough now in order to get the ball out quickly enough where he's not able to read those defenses. And so
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a, things are starting to stack up against the Cowboys.
Well,
Yeah,
I think we've seen too. I think there's been so much around Dak, and like, is he the guy that at least we've seen lately? It's when if you can get him to a point where Dak has to beat you,
You're good.
it's not gonna
You're good.
happen.
You're good.
You know,
Yeah. And that's the
Yeah,
blueprint. And that is the blueprint. So if you can put the pressure on Dak, make Dak beat you, Paul, and that we could definitely be into the game and most likely win it. Again, if it's really on his shoulders to make or break the game, then again, if he can't rely on the run game and the defense scoring for him, things of that nature, and put him in short fields, because the defense can turnovers and fumbles and things of that nature. If you can't do any of that, which doesn't come every game. Because we saw in the Cardinals game when they faced the Cardinals, they couldn't turn the Cardinals over. They couldn't give them short fields, couldn't flip field position. So the Cardinals just unraveled them.
Dobbs was cooking,
And he do 2 nasty picks in the red zone. Nasty picks.
So you know what? GA Patriot has brought up an interesting point there with Dak throwing clean picks. Do you know who else? That was Tony Romo.
Interesting.
So
Although I will say, I think Deshaun Watson threw the cleanest pick of the year this year.
Yeah, he
like
did.
Week 2 when he
did.
rolled out and chucked it right. There's no one there.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell are you doing? But Dak, very close.
Yes, he is. And so where I'm going with that is, I made a comment earlier about the Denver Broncos and how we've had the same kind of look, after 3 different coaching regimes, and at which point you then have to look to the front office and the, upper tier within management and even ownership potentially. And I think you need to look no further than Jerry Jones and the team and the scouts and stuff that he's put in place, whereby he encourages hero ball. He wants the big splash. He wants the look at me, big sign put up in the stand sort of thing. And as a result, the team, I think, takes on that persona. And, as a result of that, you have Dak Prescott, who's trying to, win the day by taking a risk that he ought not.
Mm-hmm.
And Romo did the same thing. And I think that you're starting to see teams take on front office and ownership personas as a result of, patience just not being given for the right football process to take place. And I think that's a big deal.
Is this more than a question? Like, is that he said Belichick to Tennessee, McDaniels back to New England, and Vrabel to Raiders, and Jacobs an extension? That'd be wild.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a lot of inner workings.
I could see McDaniels going back to New England because I think Kraft has a special soft spot for McDaniels as a coach.
Oh no, he stayed there for a long time, even though he was named as the coach to be everywhere else for years.
Yeah, so I actually think that McDaniels could well go back to New England, and I think Kraft would be happy to take him back as the head coach. And I think McDaniels has some cachet there in New England, who would be given the opportunity to turn it around.
Yeah.
Vrabel has actually I don't think Vrabel's the problem in Tennessee.
I'll preface. They were talking. I heard him talking. I can't remember what. It was some ESPN midday radio was talking about it, and I think more so the topic got brought up because it's the Titans bye week and he'll be at the game because he's getting inducted into the Ring of Honor, which I also think is kind of weird because why would an active coach Go on his bye week to another AFC team stadium. You have his name put up in there.
Right.
But so then they kind of went on that, which I mean, I guess that makes sense if they are moving on from Belichick, that Kraft would want someone from that tree that's knows the Patriot way and all that. But I don't know. So
yeah.
I don't know. I actually don't think that Kraft's going to move on from Bill until he breaks that all-time winning record. He breaks the all-time winning record, Bill on the power on his own, and then I can bring in who I want. And we can start over.
Yeah.
I think that's where
maybe that's the agreement. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it might be. Might be.
And it could be that McDaniels gets let go from the Raiders if they continue to kind of flutter a little bit here. McDaniels might go back to New England. Bill will come back with McDaniels coming back. You'll probably end up with a better record because those two work really well together. It's just a fact.
Right.
It is what it is.
Well, and they'll go out and get a better quarterback than Mac Jones on top of that by losing this year.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can end up with like a stacked roster at that point with McDaniels and Belichick and a new quarterback and
they also I think will have the second highest cap space. The Bears or someone. So which is very Bill Belichick like, in terms of stacking all of the things up all in a row, all at the right time. Why the hell he gave Juju Smith a 3-year, $30 million deal is beyond me.
Didn't fit to Kobe Myers. I didn't understand it at all.
Yeah. But anyways,
Juju got a deal.
Anyways, guys, you guys have a show coming up in about 23 minutes or so from now, where you guys are going to be talking about fantasy football.
We're talking football.
You're talking football, and you're talking fantasy points. Who you think's going to do the right things for the right folks here? As the chat says, you can go ahead and catch that show.
As Captain's saying on Facebook.
Yes, exactly. And anyways, guys, you can catch that on the Lockdown Defense podcast on YouTube. Alex will eventually get his own YouTube channel where that's going to post as well. Please don't hold your breath because you might not make it.
You will be gone.
Yeah. But on that note, guys, we're going to have an interesting week. Obviously, an AFC West divisional rival game coming up here with Houston, the Broncos. Alex, mark my words, it is really just that simple. This is a 14-point loss in favor of your Chiefs. You can take that to the bank, I think, in my opinion.
Right.
Smoke it.
And we'll go from there. And ladies and gentlemen, until next week, where the West Side is the best side. Peace.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.